I have 40 minutes. I should have enough. I only have a good 5 pages left. I'll be done in a good. I might. I'm once I finish reading, I'll comment for the remaining of the video. That way, it's more. I can make the video a bit more interesting. But this reading's pretty interesting because I'm bringing life into the words. So I hope you guys get. I hope you guys understand Lord of the Rings from what I'm reading. And I want you now. You guys understand why I say the book is much different from the movie. It's like the movie's only 20% of the book. There's a lot of things are cut out, obviously. As I believe they should have made it into 6 movies. Hollywood would have made more money anyways, right? Right. There were fountains of butterflies that flew glittering into the trees, that were pillars of colored fires and roses and turned into eagles or sailing ships, or frogs of flying swans. There was a red thunderstorm and a shower of yellow rain. There was a forest of silver spears that sprung suddenly into the air with a yell like an embroiled army, and came down again into the water with a hiss like 100 hot snakes. And there was also one last surprise. In honor of Bilbo, it startled the hobbits to Celia as Gandalf attended. The lights went out, a great smoke went up. It shaped itself like a mountain seen in the distance, and it began to glow at the summit. It spouted green and scarlet flames. Out flew a red golden dragon. Remember that scene in the movie when you saw that dragon? So in the movie, what they did was, they had what? They had Bilbo and they had Sam and Mary light the what? Light the fireworks for the dragon. Whereas in the book, I believe it's Gandalf who does it. Yeah, it's Gandalf who lights it. Whereas in the movie, they have Mary and Pippin light it. A lot of differences from the book and the movie, man. Again, there was also one last surprise in honorable as the star of the Hobbit City, as Gandalf intended. The lights went out, a great smoke went up. It shaped itself like a mountain, seen in the distance, and began to glow at the mountain. It was a dragon, not lifeless, but terribly lifelike. The fire came from his jaws. His eyes leered down. There was a roar, and he whistled 3 times over the heads of the crowd. They all ducked, and many fell flat on their faces. Remember that scene when they all ducked flat on their faces? They got that idea from the book, obviously. The dragon passed like an express train, turning a somersault, and burst over Bywater with a deafening explosion. Obviously, this is a signal for supper, said Bilbo. The pain and alarm vanished. I don't know who lit the dragon, but I believe from the context it's Gandalf, because it says in the book that Gandalf was the one who lit white fireworks. So I'm assuming it's Gandalf who lit. It doesn't really say who lit it here. It just says as Gandalf intended. That's all it says here, right? So if I'm mistaken, Lord of the Rings fans, you gotta bear with me, man, because I'm not as well versed into Lord of the Rings. This is a signal for supper, said Bilbo. The pain and alarm vanished at once, and the prostrate hobbits leaped to their feet. There was a splendid supper for everyone. For everyone, for everyone. There's a typo here, obviously, right? They say for everyone twice. For everyone, that is. Except those invited to the special family dinner party. That was held in the great pavilion with a tree. The invitations were limited to 12 dozen, a number also called by the hobbits one girls, though the wool was not considered proper use of the people, and the guests were selected from all the families to which Bilbo and Frodo were related, with the additions of few. So all the people who related to Frodo and Gandalf were invited, obviously, right? Were invited to the special family dinner party. So all the people who were related to Frodo and Bilbo, they were invited to the special dinner family party. That's what it says here. Obviously, were related with addition of a few special unrelated friends, such as Gandalf. So Gandalf is the exception, obviously. Many young hobbits were included and present by parental permission, where hobbits were easygoing with their children in the matter of sitting up late, especially when there was a chance of getting them a free meal. Bringing up young hobbits took a lot of provender. There were many Bagginses and Boffins, and also many Tooks and Brandybucks. These are the families of hobbits. Frodo was a Brandybuck, remember that? So these are the 4 families of the hobbits. Frodo was half Brandybuck. I believe he's half Brandybuck. He's half Brandybuck, right? There were many Bagginses and Boffins, and also many Tooks and Brandybucks. There were various Grubbs, right, relations of Bilbo Baggins' grandmother, and various Chubbs, connections of his Took's grandfather, a selection of Burroughses, Balders, Brace Girdles, Broghouses, Goodbodies, Hornblowers, and Proudfoots. Remember that scene when Bilbo was like, "I'm Proudfoots." He made a joke, and that fat hobbit sitting down smoking, everyone starts laughing. That's where he gets the idea. That's where Peter Jackson got the idea in the movie. I thought it was pretty cool. Some of these were only very distantly connected with Bilbo, and some had hardly ever been in Hobbiton before, as they lived in remote corners of the Shire. The Sackville Baggins were not forgotten. Otho and his wife Lobelia were present. They disliked Bilbo and detested Frodo, but so magnificent was the invitation card written in golden ink, and they had felt it was impossible to refuse. Beside their cousin, Bilbo had been specializing in food for many years, and his table and a high reputation. You don't see any of this in the movie, obviously, right? All the 140 guests, or the 140 people invited, expected a pleasant feast. Though they rather dreaded the after dinner speech of their host and the inevitable item, he was liable to drag in his bits of what he called poetry, and sometimes after a glass or two would allude to the absurd adventures of his mysterious journey. The guests were not disappointed. They had a very pleasant feast, in fact, an engrossing entertainment, rich, abundant, varied, and prolonged. The purchase of provisions fell almost to nothing throughout the district in ensuing weeks. But as Bilbo's catering had depleted the stocks of most of the stores, cellars, and warehouses for miles around, that did not matter much. After the feast, for a less, came the speech. Most of the company were, however, now in a tolerant mood. At that delightful stage, which they called filling up the corners, they were sipping their favorite drinks and nibbling at their family's dainties, and their fears were forgotten. They were prepared to listen to anything and cheer at every full stop. My dear people, began Mr. Baggins, rising in his place. Hear, 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 they shouted, and kept on repeating it in the chorus. Seeming reluctant to follow their own advice, Bilbo left his place and went and stood on their chair under the illuminated tree. The light of the lanterns fell on his beaming face. So I have 3 pages. I have 4 pages left. So I'll be done in a good, like, I don't know, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And I'll comment for a good actually 15 minutes. I'll talk about other things. I'm not going to comment about the book. I'm going to comment about other stuff, obviously, because I don't understand the book well enough to do a study on it. I can't do it. I don't understand the book as well. As I wasn't born with a big USB. You have to keep that in mind. I'm creative, but I wasn't born with a big USB. Yeah, I know my book for I know my book in and out. It's because I wrote my own book. That's why I know my book in and out, obviously. Golden buttons shone on his embroidered silk waistcoat. They could all see him standing, waving one hand in the air, the other with his trouser pocket. My dear Bagginses and Boffins, he began again, and my dear Tooks and Brandybucks and Grubbs and Chubbs and Burrowses and Hornblowers and Boggers and Bradsgirdles, Goodbodies, Brockinses and Proudfoots. Proud feet, shouted an elderly hobbit. Yeah, that's what the hobbit said. Remember when Bilbo, he says Proudfoots. He's like, proud feet. And everyone's laughing. Yeah, they got that idea from the movie, from the book, obviously, in the movie. Shouting to L.D. Howard from the back of the pavilion. His name, of course, was Proudfoot, and were merited. His feet were large, exceptionally furry, and both were on the table. Proudfoots, repeated Bilbo. Also my good Sackville Bagginses, that I welcome back at last to Bag End. Today is my 111th birthday. That's in the movie. When he says today is my 111th birthday, that's in the movie. But the dog before that is not in the movie, obviously. Hooray, hooray, hooray! Many happy returns, they shouted. That's not in the movie. And they hammered joyously on the tables. Bilbo was doing splendidly. This was the sort of stuff they liked. Short and obvious. I hope you are enjoying yourselves as much as I am. Deafening cheers. Cries of yes and no. Noises of trumpets and horns, pipes and flutes, and other musical instruments. There were, as has been said, many young hobbits present. Hundreds of musical crackers had been pulled. Most of them bore the Markdale on them, which did not convey much to most of the hobbits, but they all agreed they were marvelous crackers. They contained instruments, small but of perfect make, and enchanting tones. Indeed, one in the corner of some of the young Tooks and Brandybucks, supposing Uncle Bilbo to have finished, since he had plainly said all was necessary, now got up an impromptu orchestra and began a merry dance tune. Master Everett Took and Miss Melionet Brandybuck got on a table and with bells in their hands began to dance to the spring ring, a pretty dance but rather vigorous. But Bilbo had not finished. Seizing a horn from a youngster nearby, he blew 3 loud shoots, obviously. So these hobbits started dancing, obviously, on the tables, and Bilbo wasn't finished his speech, and he steals a horn from one of the young hobbits, and he blows it, obviously, to get everyone's attention, obviously. He blew 3 loud hoots. The noise subsided. I shall not keep you long, he cried. Cheers from all the assembly. I have called you all together for a purpose. Something in the way that he said this made an impression. There was almost silence, and 1 or 2 of the Tooks pricked up his ears. Indeed, for 3 purposes. First of all, to tell you that I am immensely fond of you all, and every 11 years is too short of a time to live among such excellent and moral hobbits. Again, this is not in the movie, obviously, right? Stupendous outbursts of approval. I don't know half of you, half as well as I should like, and I don't like how less half of you as well as you deserve. That's in the movie. I remember that scene in the movie. This was unexpected and rather difficult. There was some scared clapping, but most of them were trying to work it out and see if it came to a compliment. Secondly, to celebrate my birthday, cheers again, I should say, our birthday. For it is, of course, also the birthday of my heir and nephew, Frodo. He comes of age and into his inheritance today. So Frodo turned, 34 years old, I believe. 33 or 34? He turned 33 or 34. I don't know. Right. Some perfectly clapping by the elders, and some he's turned 33. Because he leaves, it says when he leaves the wall, he's 50, so he turned 33. Right. Some perfection clapping by the elders, and some loud shouts of Frodo, Frodo, jolly old Frodo, from the juniors. The Sacral Banks scowled and wondered what was meant by coming into his inheritance. Today we score 144. Obviously. Your numbers were chosen to fit this remarkable total. One gross, if I may use the expression. No cheers. This was ridiculous. Many of the guests, especially the Sacral Banks, were insulted, feeling sure they had only been asked to fill up a required number, like goods in the package. One gross, indeed, vulgar expression. It is also, again, this is not in the movie, obviously, right? It is also, if I may be allowed to refer to ancient history, the anniversary of my arrival by barrel at Esgaroth on a long lake. Though the fact that it was my birthday slipped from my memory on that occasion, I was only 51 then, and birthdays did not seem so important. The banquet was very splendid. However, though I had not bad cold at the time, I remember I could only say that you very bunch. I now repeat it more correctly. Thank you very much for coming to my little party. Obstinate silence. They all feared that a song or some poetry was now imminent, and they were getting bored. Why couldn't he stop talking? And let them drink his health? But Bilbo did not sing or recite. He paused for a moment. Thirdly and finally, he said, I wish to make. I have 2 more pages, I'm done here. I wish to make an announcement. He spoke this last word so loudly and suddenly that everyone sat up who still could. I regret to announce that though I said 11 years is far too short a time to spend among you, this is the end. I'm going. I am leaving now. Goodbye. Remember that scene when he's like, I'm going now, and he slips on the ring and he disappears? That's where they get the idea in the movie, obviously. But slightly different dialogue. A few of the words are put in the movie, obviously, but like a lot of the words are not even added in the movie, obviously, because of time constraints, obviously, right? Hence why I believe they should have done 6 movies. He stepped down and vanished. There was a blinding flash of light, and the guests all blinked. When they opened their eyes, Bilbo was nowhere to be seen. 144 blacker-vested hobbits sat back speechless. Old Odo Proudfoot removed his feet from the table and stamped. Then there was a dead silence until suddenly, after deep breaths, every Baggins, Bogans, Took, Brownie Bucks, Grubb, Chubb, Burrows, Bulger, Brace Girdles, Brockhouse, Good Booty, Good Body, right? Hornblower, and Proudfoot began to talk at once. It was generally agreed that the joke was in very bad taste, and more food and drink were needed to cure the guests of shock and annoyance. He's mad, I always said. So was probably the most popular comment. Even the Tooks, with a few exceptions, thought Bilbo's behavior was absurd. From the moment, most of them took for granted that his disappearance was nothing more than a ridiculous prank. So because Bilbo kept the ring a secret and all of the Shire is left in the dark, they know about his wealth. They know about his age, obviously, but they're little. The hobbits are a bit confused. When Bilbo disappeared, they're, oh my god, they're shocked. Oh my god, Bilbo played a prank on us. He just disappeared on his 111th birthday. When in reality, his plan all along was to leave, and to leave and disappear, obviously, right? Hornblower and Proudfoot began to talk at once. It was greatly agreed that the joke was in a very bad taste, and more food and drink were needed to cure the guests of the shock and annoyance. He's mad, I always said so, was probably the most popular comment. Even the Tooth, with a few exceptions, thought Bilbo's behavior was absurd. For the moment, most of them took it for granted that his disappearance was nothing more than a ridiculous prank, like I said earlier, right? Well, old Rory Branwood was not so sure. Neither age nor an enormous dinner had clouded his wits, and he said to his daughter-in-law, Esmeralda, there's something fishy in this, my dear. I believe that Mad Baggins is off again. Silly old fool, but why worry? He hasn't taken the vills with him. He called loudly to Frodo to send the wine around again. Frodo was the only one present who had said nothing. For some time he had sat silent beside Bilbo's empty chair and ignored all the remarks and questions. He had enjoyed the joke, of course, even though he had been in the know. He had difficulty in keeping from laughing at the indignant surprise of the guests, but at the same time he felt deeply troubled. He realized suddenly that he loved the old hobbit dearly. So Frodo loved Bilbo dearly, obviously. Most of the guests went on eating and drinking and discussing Bilbo Baggins' odysseys, past and present. This is not in the movie. In the movie, Bilbo disappears and it transfers to him at his arriving at his house, obviously. Whereas in the book, right, Frodo sits down. Frodo's still at the party, and people are still eating and drinking and celebrating, obviously, which is not in the movie, obviously. Discussing Bilbo Baggins' odysseys, past and present, but the sackful Baggins had already departed in wrath. Frodo did not want to have any more to do with the party. He gave orders for more wine to be served. Then he got up and drained his own glass wine to the health of Bilbo's and sipped out of the pavilion. That's not in the movie, obviously. As for see how different the book is from the movie. Yeah, you'll catch a few dialogues that they put in the movie, but a lot of stuff is cut out, man. It's crazy, you know what I'm saying? As for Bilbo Baggins, this is the last page, and I'll stop with the reading. As for Bilbo Baggins, even while he was making a speech, he had been fingering the golden ring in his pocket, his magic ring that he had kept secret for many years, so he kept the ring secret, like I said earlier. As he stepped down, he slipped it onto his finger, and he was never seen by any Hobbiton Hobbiton again. He walked briskly back to his hole. That's in the movie, obviously. And he stood for a moment listening with a smile to his din in the pavilion, and to the sounds of merrymaking in other parts of the field. Then he went in, he took off his party clothes, folded up and wrapped in tissue paper his embroidered silk waistcoat, and put it away. Then he put on quickly some old, untidy garments, and fastened around his waist a worn leather belt. On it he hung a short sword in a battered black leather scabbard. That's his sting sword, his short sting, obviously, right? Remember in the prologue, Frodo had a knife or a short sword. That's his short sting, obviously, right? On it, he hung a short sword in a battered black leather scabbard from a locked drawer, smelling of mothballs. He took out an old cloak and hood. Then he had locked up as if they were very precious, but they were so patched and weather-strained that their original color could hardly be guessed. It might have been dark green. They were rather too large for him. He then went into his study, and from a large strong box took out a bundle wrapped in an old cloth, and a leather-bound manuscript, and also a largely bulky envelope. The book and bundle he stuffed in the top of a heavy bag that was standing there, already nearly full. I believe that's his There and Back Again book, I believe. I might be mistaken. Into the envelope, he slipped his golden ring and its fine chain, and then sealed it, and addressed it to Frodo. At first he put it on the mantelpiece, but suddenly he removed it and stuck it in his pocket because of the temptation of the ring. So he left the ring. He left the ring, obviously, on the mantelpiece, and all of a sudden he put it back in his pocket because the ring is what? The ring is evil. The ring tempts you. The ring is everyone's precious, obviously, right? Stuck in his pocket. At that moment, the door opened and Gandalf came in. "Hello," said Bilbo. "I wonder if you would turn up." "I'm glad to find you visible," replied the wizard, sitting down in the chair. "I wanted to catch you and have a few final words. I suppose you feel that everything has gone off splendidly and according to plan." I'll stop it there. Obviously. Right. So chapter 1 is pretty much what? About Bilbo's birthday, what happens. Bilbo plans a party, his 111th birthday. It's also Frodo's party. You get a history of what? You get some history with Sam's father. Sam's father, obviously. Frodo's father, Drogo, and his mother. His Frodo's parents drowned. They died from drowning because hobbits are not good swimmers at the Brandywine River, obviously. You find out that Frodo's Bilbo's cousin. I thought Frodo was Bilbo's nephew, but before it was Bilbo's cousin. You find out that Bilbo's rich and he brought back wealth. You find out that he ages well, obviously. He hasn't aged a day. He's barely aged in the last 60 plus years because of the magic of the ring. You find out Frodo's age. Frodo's 33 years old. So he's of age, obviously. Whereas in the movie they have him in his 20s. And then when the party takes place, Bilbo gives a speech. He disappears with the ring and everyone's shocked. Obviously, everyone's shocked and they think it's a prank. And Bilbo ends up going back to his home, and that's where he meets Gandalf, and that ends this discussion about what I've read so far in chapter 1. And tomorrow I'll continue another 15 pages of chapter 1. Obviously, so I finished 15 pages. Tomorrow I'll read another 15 pages. The book is interesting, obviously. It's more here's the thing, Lord of the Rings is more interesting if you read it out loud. If you read the audiobook or you read it out loud, the book is more interesting. The reason why I'm reading the book because I want you guys, I want all those guys who haven't read the book, I want to get you guys invested into reading the book, obviously, because Lord of the Rings is an amazing story. Even though the book is pretty boring in a lot of sections, because the book is pretty boring, I'm not gonna lie, the book is pretty fucking boring. But what? But the world building is amazing. And I thought it would be cool for me to read the book out loud. That way, you guys can idea of the beautiful world that Tolkien created. So I'll babble on for a good 20 minutes here. I have 30 minutes on my phone. I'll babble on for 10 minutes. Because I don't know if I can babble on for 30 minutes. I'll babble on for 10 minutes and I'll shut the camera off here. End this video. So this video is a good hour and a half long. I shut the camera off after 10 minutes. So I'll talk about other things. I'll talk about Zanus. Okay, I'm going to keep saying this. The last Hope for Zanus book will be one book like this, but it will be coming in 3 volumes. In 3 volumes. Look at something top notch. And it will be single space like this. So see the inside of this? See the inside of that? It'll be single spaced like that. Different font, obviously. It won't look professional as this book because you self-publish, your book won't look professional. But because I formatted on Manuscript Word, I did everything myself. My book won't be as professional as this book here, as Lord of the Rings was obviously traditionally published. J.R.R. Tolkien was traditionally published, obviously. Whereas I'm self-publishing. I'm doing everything myself. And because the doors are locked to me and they won't let me format my book or anything like that, I have to do everything myself. Hence why my book won't be as professional. But it's still going to be pretty professional, obviously. It'll be professional, but it won't be but it won't be as professional as a book like this, as Master of Zane's book. It won't be professional as a Fellowship of the Ring book, obviously. Right? And I keep telling you, so all you guys who think Lord of the Rings is amazing, once you read my book, you're going to be shocked. As the whole book of Lord of the Rings, you're hooked. As Last of Us as Last of Us the whole book, you're hooked. As Lord of the Rings, the book is kind of boring. Even though it's an amazing series and J.R.R. Tolkien's legend, I respect him, there's a lot of sections in the book that are boring and it drags on. I have to force myself to read a lot of sections. I guarantee you, even J.R.R. Tolkien, when he read his own book, I guarantee you, even he's like, yeah, some sections of my book can be pretty boring. Because he drags on for pages describing the sunset, I read you a bit of chapter 1. He drags on describing a lot of things, obviously. A lot of things. He drags on describing so much things. It's crazy. So much information that it's hard to what? It's hard, for me personally, it's hard to grasp the information, obviously. I grasp, because I reread chapter 1, I now get an idea of what's about it. I remember a lot of the stuff that I didn't pick up before. But the book is crazy. There's a lot of information that he dumps you with, and hence you have to constantly keep track of what he's saying, and hence why for Lord of the Rings I have to read like 2 or 3 times to really get the gist of the story, which I most likely will. There's a good chance in the future, I don't know, before Xanadu gets released, I'm gonna do a thing once I finish filming in 2027, 2028 or something like that. There's a good chance 2027 and 2028 around I'll be filming Xanus, obviously. So once the whole world reads my book and you experience that crazy buzz, once I release my book for purchase on Lulu, I'll read my book, obviously. I'll buy the print and read it. Let's see how good my book is. I'll read my book and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe I wrote this. Victoria Justice will be shocked with my book, obviously. And then once I start the process of Scars and I put 9-7 million towards my movie, and I adapt my movie to the big screen, and once filming's finished after the 4th year, once me and my wife go home and post-production's taking place, there's a good chance I'm going to reread the Lord of the Rings books and watch the movies to build excitement for my Zane's movie, obviously. So what I'll do is I'll reread the Lord of the Rings books, then I'll watch the Lord of the Rings movies. I'll binge it. I'll binge the books. I'll read a good 10, 20 pages a day. That way in a good 6 months I can finish the books. And what I'll do is once I finish the books, I'll watch the movie, and then I'll read my Zanus book. I'll read my Zayn book before the movie gets released to build excitement for the movie, obviously. And I guarantee you a lot of fans around the world are going to do that. Before my movie gets released on Amazon on 4K Blu-ray, right, the 4K Blu-ray box set, the whole world, a lot of the people in the world are going to read my book to build excitement for the movie, man. A lot of people around the world are going to reread my book to build excitement for the movie. Because Last of Us is the best story ever told. Yes, even a better story than Lord of the Rings. I read Lord of the Rings. I read this whole book. I'm going through it a second time now, pretty much. I read this book. I finished this book like 6-7 months ago. Or, I don't know, 6-5 months ago. And I finished Two Towers like a month ago. And now I'm reading Return of the King. And I'm telling you right now, yes, Lord of the Rings is an amazing story, but Last of Us will blow your mind away. As once you read the book, you're never going to be the same. As you're looking at an amazing story. You're looking at such an amazing story. I went over my book again today, and when I went over my book, I was hooked. I was pretty hooked. Volume 1 doesn't keep you as hooked. But even Volume 1, when I went over my chapters many times, every time I read, I'm always hooked. I want to know more about the story. What happens next in the story? Because I have to get my story is so interesting, obviously. And Lord of the Rings is an amazing series. I'm not taking anything away from J.R.R. Tolkien. J.R.R. Tolkien's a legend. I respect him. But Last of Us is an amazing story. As all you book nerds who read my book, you're gonna order takeout while reading it. I'm gonna take you for a ride, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, this book is amazing. This book is so good. You're looking at an amazing story, man, for my book, man. I told you, me and my wife are gonna make a good like $9 million at the book sales. Because me and my wife are gonna be rich, obviously. And once I say my final goodbyes, my final 4-day goodbyes, I'm gonna donate all my clothing that I have. I'm gonna donate it to Big Brother or Value Village. Because Big Brother is a clothing company where they come to your door, they collect clothes, and they sell your clothes for cheap, obviously. And there's a good chance I'm gonna donate my what? I'm gonna donate my clothes to Big Brother or Value Village. Because I know once I meet my wife, me and my wife are gonna go on a clothes shopping spree. I guarantee you, my wife is gonna donate 99% of her clothes. Because she knows she has an unlimited bank on me, she can get a whole new set of clothes for herself. VJ's gonna get a whole new set of clothing for herself. A whole new set of clothing for herself. As me and my wife are gonna spend like, I don't know, 200 grand on clothes. Within those 2 months, we're gonna spend like, I don't know, 150,000, 200 grand on clothes. We're gonna have a huge collection. I don't want to have a huge. I want to have a huge collection of clothes, but I don't want to go overboard where you have like, I don't know, 200, 500, 800 clothes. That's crazy. 1,000 clothes, 200 shoes. No, I'll get a good 10 pair of shoes for myself, a good 30 pair of shirts, and a good like, I don't know, 30 pair of pants. So a big collection, but I don't want to go overboard and get like what? And get like 1,000 clothes and like 200 shoes. No, the moment you're just wasting money. I'm gonna tell Victoria Justice, I don't want you getting 1,000 clothes. I don't want you getting 200 shoes. Let's get like 10 pair of shoes, 30 pair of shirts, 35 pair of shirts, 35 pair of pants around there, right? 10 pair of suits for work. That way we don't waste money. Now, when we start our process for next week, we can get another 3-4 more pair of suits and a few more shoes. That way we don't waste money, obviously. So I'll get a good 10 pair of casual shoes, and I'll get a good like 3 to 4 pair of shoes for work. For my 3 to 4 pair of casual suitwear shoes, right? Casual suitwear shoes for work, obviously. So get a good 10, 14 shoes. Don't go crazy and get like 200 shoes. No, get a good 10 to 14 pair of shoes, 35 pair of shirts, 30, even 40 pair of pants. That way you don't waste money. Don't get like 200, 500 pants. You're just wasting money. Get like a good 30 pair of pants or like 30 pair of shirts. That way you don't waste money. I'm going to tell Victoria Justice. I'm going to be very strict. Yeah, it's your money and we're sharing the same account, but because I saved you, actually listen to me. I'm going to tell her I don't want you wasting money and buying a bunch of clothes. Because I know if you do that, you're going to end up wasting a bunch of money and you're not even going to wear half your fucking clothes. If you have 1,000 clothes, there's no way you can wear all that. It's too much clothes. Hence why I'm going to tell her don't go overboard with the clothes, as I know women are obsessed with clothes. I'm also going to have my own set of cologne. I'm going to buy my own cologne set. I'm going to have a huge collection of cologne. I'll even have a collection of liquor in my kitchen. I'm also going to buy the Lord of the Rings posters. I'm going to post it in my house. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. I'll buy the 4K Blu-ray Lord of the Rings set. I might even buy a lot of the posters and swords that they have, the souvenir swords, hanging in my condo. Because Lord of the Rings has a special place in my heart. And my book series that I bought now, I'm going to keep it as treasury, obviously. Because Lord of the Rings is a special book, obviously. It's a special book in my heart, obviously. It's a very special, it has a special place in my heart, Lord of the Rings. Obviously, because Lord of the Rings is my favorite fantasy novel. I've only read Narnia. Narnia is my second favorite fantasy novel. Narnia I can read more times than Lord of the Rings. It's an easier book to read because it's a children's book. But Lord of the Rings is obviously a better book because it has much better world building, and the world feels more real than Narnia. Whereas Narnia, it feels kind of like fairy tale because it's for children, obviously. Whereas Lord of the Rings, the world feels very real. It feels like history because the story is fucking amazing, obviously. The world building is amazing. The story isn't the best, but the world building is amazing, obviously. Amazing world building. I can babble on for another 10 minutes and talk about my personal life a bit more. I'll talk about, yeah. Let me check my calendar for a sec.